Welcome to 2025 podcast fam. Today we're going to be talking really quick about my top suggestion for how to write so that you don't lose your voice. Meaning, let's make sure that your writing always sounds like you.
Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Up in My Business. It's the first episode of 2025. I sound sick because if you listened to the podcast last week, you will know two things. I am recording this one directly after that one, and I am fighting that tail end of a cold. And two, I have a really busy weekend coming up because of Shantae's birthday party. So I'm pre-recording this episode for the first episode of 2025. So welcome. I'm super excited for you to be back here. If you listened to last week's episode, I'd love to know what you think. I finished recording that episode just a minute ago, obviously, and I'm still thinking like, yeah, that was a great episode. So I'd love to know what you think. I am going to talk today about something that a client of mine brought up during a coaching call. And it was a great question. And I know that other people have this question. So I'm going to address it and some people might think like, yeah, like, of course, duh. But I do think that there's room for growth regardless of where you're at in this process and regardless of what you're doing. So let's dive into it. What I'm going to talk about, and it's going to be quick because genuinely, I'm not going to do business and life updates. I just did those, so I don't have any new ones right now. But also this topic, I do think just requires a switch of your brain. So I'm not going to sit here and pontificate, wow, what a big word, on exactly what I'm saying. Like, I'm not going to reiterate the point multiple times. I'm doing it right now to let you know that I'm not going to do that, but I digress. So let's talk about it. When you write a blog, when you write an email, when you write an Instagram post, when you write an entry in your journal, regardless of what you're doing, when you record a podcast, I will tell you, I don't edit this stuff. I don't edit anything. I literally toss the intro on. I put the episode in. I have Jane, if they're sponsoring the episode, and then I export it. I'm not editing my ums. I'm not editing my ams. I'm not editing anything out. Like, you should, obviously, if you listen to the podcast weekly, you probably realize that. But anyway, regardless of what you're writing, what you're doing, what content you're creating, I have people who wonder, how do I write content and not lose my voice? And how can I make content creation or writing things, especially when it comes to blog posts, easier? You want to know the true answer to this? The real, honest answer is that I just want you to stop editing things in your head. That's all. It sounds crazy. It sounds like it's too easy, but I promise you, if you just write everything out that you're thinking, go back, read it again, and you will edit it. You will move things around. You will say, this will sound better if I do this thing. It will come out faster. It will sound like you, and you'll get your point across. I promise. Just stop editing in your head. When you embrace just saying it and then going back and editing if you need to, or editing if you want to, and that's when you're going to do your editing and not edit things in your head, what you want to say comes out much easier and you don't lose your voice in the process. Because if I were to just talk to you about an ACL tear, I'm going to say it one way, and then in my brain I'm going to say, oh shoot, but I want to add this thing and I want to add this thing and I want to make sure I do this. Okay, great. Do that later. Just free write everything out and then edit afterward. There's a reason why we wrote a first draft in English class. We always wrote a first draft, we wrote a second draft, and then you write a final draft. Like we had 3 different drafts of papers. And I know that if I did it, probably everybody who's listening to this podcast also did that. And it was always handwritten. Like, what is a computer? Like, there were no computers. And it was 3 drafts of that paper before I had the final thing. Now, I'm not telling you that you need to have 3 different drafts of your email, 3 different drafts of your blog. You do what works for you. The problem that I see and where people get stuck is the first draft, because they're trying to make their first draft their final draft. Stop doing it. Just write. I promise it will come easier. Everything will actually flow better. You'll be able to get all your thoughts out. Then go back and add things, move things around, create lists, whatever you want to do. At least you have those initial thoughts out. So that is honestly, and I'm looking at the clock, it's been 6 minutes. And most of that was me saying that I'm not going to sit here and ramble about the same thing over and over again. I'm going to hold true to that statement and tell you, I have nothing more to say about it. If you want to make your writing easier, if you want to make it easier to write a blog, write an email, write anything, have a podcast, don't edit things in your head. Just let it flow. Write and then edit again. Remember and give yourself grace that we always had 3 different drafts of a paper before we turned in the final one. It's okay to have the same thing happen when you're doing anything as far as content creation goes. Okay, that's all I've got for you. Welcome to 2025. I hope your New Year's Day, New Year's Eve was fantastic. And I'm on the other side of Shantae's birthday at this point. So I hope that the party was great. I'll let you know next week on the podcast because I'll record that one likely in the next couple of days. If you're listening to this on the day that it drops on the 6th. I'm excited. I am super excited. Okay, friends. Thank you so much for listening. Cheers to 2025. I will catch you next time.